Hey everybody, it's Lloyd Spence, and BetOnline and I would like to wish you a happy new betting year as we continue our march to the playoffs and beyond. BetOnline remains the number one spot for all the best sports wagering action for 2022. It's a new year and new updated desktops and mobile websites to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BLEAV, B-L-E-A-V, to get started. From football, basketball, and hockey, boxing and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for 2022. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. And tell them the Noisemaker sent you.
Popcorn World. Popcorn World.
Can I make you move now? Yes, I can. So you can get this groove in the back of a can. Put the big Robin World and the holes in your hand. Popcorn World. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. I said popcorn make you smile. Ah. Popcorn World. Popcorn World. Popcorn World. It's a popcorn world. It's a popcorn world.
You're now listening to BLEAV in the ACC with Heisman Trophy winner and Florida State legend, Mr. Charlie Ward, Wave 3 TV, and Fern Creek Hall of Famer, Kendrick Haskins, and Mr. Talking Noise himself, and of course, Mama Noise's man, Lloyd Spence. And now, it's time for BLEAV in the ACC.
Well, you know, it's funny. Sometimes the show you put together is somewhat prophetic. You say, oh, let's do a show about coaches. Who knew? The irony is, we had the idea for the show on Monday. We were like, let's do a show of coaches and the challenges that they face. Like, I heard the comments, and we'll get into that a little bit too, with Penny Hardaway and how frustrated he was. I was like, that make it an interesting show. You know, what coaches are experiencing the most challenges and frustrations, and who knew? So here we are, talking about a coach who has experienced the ultimate frustrations, and so much so that his fan base said enough is enough. So that is Kendrick Haskins over there. That is Charlie Ward below us. He's our only Heisman Trophy winner until the paperwork clears. And then we may have some announcements to make on this show. I don't know. But until then, we got a great show for you today, and we got a lot to talk about. Yeah, it's going to be Kendrick. It's not going to be me, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. We got a lot to talk about. So yesterday, well, actually 2 days ago, there was a rumbling of weird proportions that some things might be happening. Nobody really knew what it was, but some things might be happening. And we were like, well, okay, they'll clear it all up on the weekly radio show on ESPN in Louisville. And, you know, he'll talk about it and, you know, the rumblings or whatever. I'm sure they'll ask him some questions or whatever. No, they will not be asking him questions because the radio show was canceled. Chris Mack was rescheduled or not scheduled to be on his local show on was that Tuesday afternoon, I guess it was, which set off a frenzy of activity. Like, no radio show. This could be bad for Chris Mack. And ultimately it appears that it was. So Kendrick is going to take us through all of the activity that led up to the dismissal of Chris Mack as the University of Louisville men's basketball coach. Kendrick, what happened?
Well, I mean, the word that they're using is it was mutual. It was a mutual agreement. That's the term they're using. So
That's always the term.
Can I just stop you right there? I've never heard of anybody mutually saying "fire me." We're not doing that.
all I can do is report what they say, and so
that's why I gave editorial. I don't want you to say anything you should say.
So,
go ahead, bro.
Mutual agreement that was first starting to be discussed between Chris Mack and the school last week. And pretty much the decision had been made, according to what they said in the press conference yesterday. The decision was pretty much made after that Notre Dame game last Saturday. And so they played at Virginia on Monday. And the reason why they wanted to do it this week was because they have that gap between their game on Monday and the Duke game on Saturday. So it's 4 days in there to get all their ducks in a row. And so the press, of course, like what you said, the radio show was canceled on Tuesday, and there was a meeting on Wednesday, and pretty much the meeting on Wednesday was pretty much dotting the I's and crossing the T's, from what I understand, and getting the buyout together, because they owed him $12.75 million, and they ended up settling. I think it was $4.89 million is the amount they settled on. And so we ran into him yesterday in the parking lot, and I'm going to be honest with you, he seemed like a man that had the weight of the world lifted off his shoulders. He wasn't bitter. He said he's not bitter. He said he still loves the University of Louisville. He said all the right things. He said he's excited to be able to spend more time with his family. His daughters have a tournament. I want to say basketball, but I'm not sure 100% sure it's basketball, but they have some kind of tournament they're playing up in Indianapolis this weekend. He's now able to go, and he's got some time. And there's word out there that he might be done coaching altogether. It's not just U of L. He's just done with coaching. We'll see about that, but that's pretty much that's the timetable of how everything went the last couple of days around here.
Before we get into, I got a ton of questions, but before we get into that, I do have, unfortunately, Kendrick, I don't have the WAVE audio, but I do have audio of Chris Mack talking about that situation.
I know what the future holds. I just, I'm not bitter. I love these guys. The university's been great for me and my family. It's hard telling my girls. But life's too short to live bitter or, just really appreciative.
Sure. When did maybe this all start happening? It was this all supposed to be, had there been discussions before that?
I think it's just, it's been building, obviously, we all want the best for Lou, and I still do. And that's not going to change. So, it's not really important, when, any of that stuff. What's important is that, these guys need to be able to be connected, and I'm humble enough that if I'm not the right person, all good, man. Just want the best for them. They're great kids. I love my time in Louisville. My kids love it here. And so I harbor no bitterness. No, man, life's too short. I know in 2022, everybody wants to be a victim. I've never lived my life that way at all.
But Chris, do you believe that you did deserve more time to be the coach here?
I'm not going to speculate on that. I appreciate the question, Dom, but like it's a hard place. I mean, you got to win games, but you know, we're in the right place.
What was the feeling of the locker room and the team when you spoke with him?
And they already knew. So it's like you can't do things the right way anymore. You need approval and all that stuff. And it's like I want to be the first to tell them. But
Chris, what did you tell the guys?
I'm gonna leave that between me and them.
Well, I mean, okay.
Kendrick, I was having a hard time trying to hear most of it, but
Okay.
did he say that the team already knew?
Yeah, that's what he said.
So when did they know? Like,
sounds like Saturday.
Well, because we haven't been able to talk to the players yet. We'll actually talk to some of the players. Well, I won't because I'll be off. But they're having a press conference tomorrow where one or two players and Mike McGeese, who's the interim coach right now. But I mean, with social media and with everything getting out, once they canceled his coach's show, you pretty much had an idea that it was about to be a wrap. When they say there's going to be a board of trustees meeting and they're canceling the coach's show,
yeah,
you pretty much know from right then. And so, but I don't know what the players exactly knew or when they knew, but it pretty much, because the way it escalated on Tuesday, it went from is canceled, the coaching show is canceled and there's a meeting, to it was pretty much out there that he was going to be let go anyway. So, but It's still, at that point, it wasn't anything set in stone. It was all speculative at that point. But I mean, I'm guessing that's what he's referring to.
Was the Malik comments on Monday after Monday's game or Saturday? I could not remember.
Saturday.
So to bring Charlie up to speed on that, one of the, I guess you could say, the captain. Is he a captain? He's a captain, yeah. Right? Yeah. Malik Williams, who you can argue his play, whatever you think it is, has been, whatever. Some would say it leaves a lot to be desired, but I digress. Right. He said, after being asked on Saturday, hey, it feels like, you know, maybe the team is kind of tuning him out, tuning out the coach. Or tuning out the coaches is how I think the question was phrased. Tuning out the coaches. Would that be an accurate assessment of the relationship right now? He said, I don't have an answer for that.
And that was after a long pause.
Right, a very long pause. I don't have an answer for that. So for me, always trying to read the tea leaves, I'm wondering if the rumblings quietly weren't being done then, because that's a weird answer. And Malik has not been that kind of kid throughout his U of L career to get to jump in the fray of those type of, that's a weird answer. So I was like, well, now nobody thought it. We were all shocked by the answer, on Saturday, but nobody thought, okay, well, maybe he's maybe he knows something. I didn't think he knew something until Tuesday. I was like, well, maybe that's why he answered the way he did. Because maybe he, somebody may have gotten in his ear and said, hey, man, we're going to fix this. Just say nothing. It was a weird. I'll be honest with you guys, and you guys know this from the group chat. I'm not crazy about how this all unfolded. I'm kind of on the Chris Mack side of this, in that, now I don't know how it could have unfolded differently, I'll be honest with you, but I'm just not crazy at how it all unfolded. It's you don't want a guy? Great. I get it. No problem. Let him leave with a little bit of, I don't want to use the word dignity, but I don't have a better word. I don't have a better word, and I hate that I don't have a better word.
But
do you understand what I'm saying?
But this is nothing new. I mean, why are we so? I mean, it's the same song and dance that we've seen from all the other coaches, players, whoever it may be, that on the out in a sense. And so I don't see this as being anything different. I mean, when you start looking back, and I think we mentioned this, or I mentioned it, a couple weeks ago, that it's hard to do your job when you hear all of the rumblings on the outside. And people say, well, he's professional and he's supposed to be XYZ, blah, 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 blah. I understand that 100%. And he is going to be professional about doing his job, coming to work and doing the best that he can. But at some point, I mean, it comes down to it's hard because everybody hears it. Like the players hear it, the coaches hear it, everyone hears it. And it's hard to do your job. I don't care how professional you are. You still can be professional about it, but it's still hard to do your job because you're not the only one that's hearing the noise. And as the leader, you're trying to keep everyone together in the fold. And if the players are hearing and they say you have a couple that's immature in their thinking, or a couple coaches that's immature about this whole situation, next thing you know, you have what we have, which is no one's listening to the head coach. Everyone's listening to this coach or whatever the case may be. And then the players aren't performing at a high level because we all hear it. We see the same thing happening time and time again. And then when the board of trustees or whomever it may be comes together to talk, call the emergency meeting, I mean, that is just writing on the wall in a lot of ways. And so, I mean, I don't see it. I saw it coming a long time ago. I mean, I think we all saw it coming a long time ago.
Absolutely.
So this is just a formality in a lot of ways.
Although I'll be honest with you, I'm a little surprised they pulled the trigger in season. I don't know, because I'm not sure what you gain by doing that, other than you get a head start on picking your next coach.
That was what they were saying yesterday. Feel like they're to the market first. That's what they were saying yesterday in the press conference.
Okay, I mean, do y'all agree with that? Did they get the market first?
I think you finish out the season, but I do wonder how much, because that Notre Dame game, which was last Saturday, was that last home game, was just weird. It was weird because like they completely fell apart in the second half, which they've been doing that anyway. Then there was the day they were retiring Russ Smith's jersey. And so you had the biggest crowd of the season to see Russ. And then in the video presentation where they have everybody, congratulating Russ, former players, the biggest applause came when they had a message from Rick Pitino.
Of course.
So now Rick Pitino's presence is back in the arena. Then they go out there, they fall apart. And I mean, honestly, Chris Mack I wonder what's going on with him and Malik, because Chris Mack kind of protected Malik in the press conference because he said he got gassed. That's why he wasn't in there at the end of the game. But Malik was having one of those Malik games where he's lollygagging up the court. He gave up an and one because he was lollygagging up the court. And he didn't play the last 5 minutes of the game. And so, like, gassed doesn't mean you don't play the last full segment of the game. So
I'm going to add
him there. But then when they're walking off the floor, the boos from the fans in the Yum Center you couldn't ignore it. And so that game, I can see when they said that game was pretty much when they decided that, this is the time. Everything that went into that day, you could totally see it looking back at it.
So I want you to stay right there for a second, because that brings up interesting point, and it piggybacks to what Charlie just said. Is there a point when it's difficult to do your job because you can't do your job? Like this team has checked out. It's obvious they've checked out. And
see, I don't want to 100% say they checked out, because you look at that Virginia game in which they got down 22-5 to start the game,
Right.
Well, a team that's checked out gets beat by 50 in that game. Well, they came back and cut the deficit to 4. So they wasn't. I mean, and they ended up losing by 8 or 9, whatever it was at the end of the game. But
right.
I don't think they had completely checked out. I think there was maybe a player or two here and there, but they still played hard. I mean, them playing hard wasn't, in my opinion, them playing hard wasn't the issue. It's just they made stupid mistakes and they stupid turnovers. I mean, but like I don't look at that team and say they totally just quit on him. I don't see that.
Okay. Can we go all the way back? And I apologize in advance because I don't really know the proper pronunciation of the interim coach. You do, I'm sure you do. Is it
Pegues? Mike Pegues.
Huh?
Excuse me, Mike Pegues.
It makes you sneeze every time you say it. Mike Pegues. Mike Pegues. Okay. Now that wasn't the coach that coached in the Bahamas.
Yeah, it was.
That was the coach that coached in the Bahamas? Mm-hmm. Okay. So Mike is going to take over as the interim coach. They had a really good run in the Bahamas.
They were 5-1 under Pegues.
They were 5-1 in the Bahamas. They won the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think, or what happened that the voice that they had in the Bahamas, they listened to as opposed to the voice? Because I think that's one of the fan complaints. Where is that team that was in the Bahamas that looked cohesive early on in the season, that looked like they were going to crack the top 25, that looked like they were going to make a significant run in the ACC? What happened to that team the moment? Because it looked like that team was set up for Chris Mack to be extremely successful this year.
I think part of that too is like that 6-game suspension hurt, and like really, if you hindsight's 2020, I mean that 6-game suspension was pretty much, you knew that the end was coming. They got suspended for that long to start the season, especially when it's basically over an HR issue, and so they're practicing. So it was 6 games. So that was roughly 2-3 weeks that they were with Pegues. And so they jailed. They had started to jail, and then that ends, and then you start hearing a whole new voice. So you expected there to be a little bit of a transition period going back to Mack, and it just felt like it felt like they was more. I mean, honestly, they felt like they were more cohesive under Pegues than they were under Mack.
But new voice, but it should be the same philosophy, shouldn't it? Do you understand what I'm saying, Charlie?
Yeah. So I have this question.
Mm-hmm.
So was Chris Mack not in the building at all during that time?
Nope.
Hmm.
No, he totally was away from the team.
So he wasn't around the team.
He wasn't around the team. He wasn't recruiting. He wasn't in the building at all.
Wow.
And so
that's very interesting because it feels like,
is that normal? Is that normal when a coach gets suspended, that he's not like coaching the team during practice?
I mean, I think supposed to be. I don't know how many people actually live up to that, because who's around to check it. But,
and let me say this too. That also, you got to remember, that time frame was also a massive time frame of confusion for the entire U of L system. Like the president was interviewing for jobs at Penn State, and the AD was interviewing for Florida State, and I mean, it was a lot going on during that time. So there was a lot of confusion in that moment of time where I think ultimately that may have been as much maybe not as big a contributor, but a contributing factor to the ultimate place that we've ended up here. What Saturday, and I'm sure you've had a few conversations by now, Kendrick, other than the booze and the things, what do you think the ultimate deciding factor? Was it the effort or the lack of effort that they felt, or was it solely just the booze and also the financial part of it? Like, we don't have people coming to these games. If it wasn't for this Russ jersey retirement, there'd be nobody in the seats. I mean, What do you think, or was it just a total gumbo of it all? Like, what do you?
I mean, it's like it's a gumbo of it all. I mean, the attendance at the games was awful. I mean, there's nobody.
And that matters. That matters.
That matters. And so, I mean, that plays as much a role in coaches getting fired as anything. If you can be honest, I mean, that plays a role with Steve Crackthorpe when he was U of L coach. That I mean, they had to let him go because nobody was coming to the games, and same with Bobby at the end. And it was that, and it's the record. It's like a lot of the issues that the team was having as far as on-court play weren't changing. The turnovers, they were making the same bad turnovers game in and game out, and things like. And so you weren't seeing any kind of improvement. You weren't really seeing much improvement amongst the players. I mean, Sidney Curry was improving, but his time was inconsistent. It didn't understand. I've never understood why that kid wasn't playing earlier in the season to begin with. And so there's things like that, and it's just like the product on the floor was not what it needed to be. It was not up to the U of L standard, and so it's just a big combination of everything. Plus the fans were not happy. Just you go on social media, you go on the local sports talk radio shows, and it's just bashing this man. So on his end, I can see why he was done too. And so it's hard.
Charlie, I heard Chris Mack say, "I'm not bitter." Is he, in your humble opinion and your experience with these type of things, is that even possible?
Yeah, it's possible. I mean,
okay.
I don't know where he stands from a faith-based perspective, but it's possible to be bitter because
from what I heard, he loves the Lord.
I mean, I'm sorry, not to be bitter. I'm sorry. It's possible not to be bitter because, you know, at the end of the day, you know, you want to do the best that you can do. And I guess if you feel like you've given your all to a job and they decide to go a different direction, then, you know, you have to live with it, one. But two, man, I'll be happy, just to be honest, because when it's all said and done, the number one killer for people is stress. And to be relieved from that stress, I know you feel like you can do better, but the undue stress that you put upon yourself and your family and all the different things sometimes is a relief. And I'm sure that's what it sounded like when he was talking to the media. Like he was relieved to be able to move forward without all the stress that was placed upon him, probably within, you know, a short period of time. And, you know, in that business or in the business, you know, especially when it comes down to wins and losses and finances, you know, people are going to side on the side of winning. You know, I mean, that's just the way life is, because winning breeds more money. And so it just sounded like he was relieved to be able to move forward, and he's going to enjoy the time. Sounds like he's a family man. He's going to move on to do something that he probably enjoys even more, which is spending time with his family, being able to go see his kids play. Those are things that are very valuable. And I know in my experience, you know, I could easily be coaching in the NBA, but I wanted to have time to be able to spend with the family while the kids and the wife while they were growing up. And so I chose to go a different direction and coach high school sports because it's more flexible schedule wise. So it's just, you know, it's just this whole thing, man, that stress, it can kill you. I mean, if you're not careful. And I'm sure he's very, very happy to be where he is right now. I'm sure he would rather be coaching and them doing well, but with the circumstances, I'm sure he seems to be relieved from it.
You can hear it in his voice, and you see it on his face. I mean, because you couldn't see it when we was playing the sound, but even looking at his face, I mean,
he looked relieved.
He's happy. I mean, he's a big Cincinnati Bengals fan, so he had on his Bengals cap.
I saw that. I did see. I wrote that down. Yeah, I was like,
Bengals. So he's in a good place. It felt like.
Well, I want to stay on that Bengals hat for a minute because obviously he's an Xavier man, and that's where he came from, and he jumped from Xavier, which he led Xavier to probably his. I mean, you could argue it was his greatest success. I mean, he was their best coach, arguably. Mm-hmm. I wonder a lot of the fodder surrounding him over the last 2 years was he's in over his head. It is the jump that great, Charlie, from the mid-major situation to an ACC situation? Is it that great, or is this a situation of if you got the players and they can get your system, basketball is basketball?
Well, I'm just going to tell you what the biggest jump is. The biggest jump is expectation. I mean, that's essentially what it is. And you're expected to win at a high level when you decide to go to an ACC or one of these major programs. And so that's really the biggest jump. It's not so much, the players, the organization, because all that's the same pretty much as far as, getting players and those types of things. That's the reason why I commend Mark Few for, staying at Gonzaga, because the expectation there now is to win, and be successful. And they built that. But before, they were just happy to be competing, at a high level. And the expectation wasn't huge. But if he goes to a certain school and he tries to repeat what he's doing at Gonzaga and it doesn't happen as fast as they wanted to happen, now you have a great coach who came from, a smaller program, and you're going to have all these detractors. And so, I mean, we've seen it before. Good coaches go to a different situation and they don't have the success that they desire. And then people looking at them like they're not a great coach. They're a great coach. It's just they're in a tough situation or a different situation.
Didn't work out, right?
Yeah, right. And so it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that he's not a great coach. And so I think that's where a lot of people get caught up in, is this too big for him? No, it's just the expectations have changed, and they're not giving you much time to. Like Mark Few's been at Gonzaga for how long?
Ever.
Yes. That's my point.
Yeah.
In this day and age, you're not going to have very many young coaches or coaches in general staying at schools, especially the major schools, for a very long time if you don't have success early.
Well, I was going to ask you, Charlie and Kendrick, how much time is enough time? You mentioned Mark Few. Mark Few has had a ton of time to produce the results that he is now producing, but it took a ton of time to get the results that he is now producing. Like, it doesn't happen overnight. Is this a reflection of an impatient society that we've created, or does Chris Mack have to understand this ain't Xavier, bro? You got to come in and you got to produce immediately. Like, who's right, who's wrong? Go ahead, Kendrick.
I think it's each situation is different. I mean, and then you look at Chris Mack. I mean, his second year, he had U of L number 1 in the country at one point in the season. So it wasn't like he came in there and was just a dud from the get-go. And then, like, the COVID year when the tournament was shut down, they were going to make the tournament that year. They and probably been about 4 or 5 seed in the tournament. And so, if that doesn't happen, you never know what would have happened in the tournament. Then but you don't have this tournament drought. Everybody keeps pointing to, well, we haven't been in a tournament in such and such many years. Like, well, one of those years was COVID, and nobody was in the tournament. Right. But like, as far as how long it takes, each situation is different, and I felt like I've said it on here a million times that, like, with everything hanging over U of L's head with the NCAA. I felt like Chris Mack deserved more time than he got, because it's hard for him to recruit, because that's hanging over their head. The NCAA's dragging their feet. They've drugged this out for 5 years. I mean, there's nothing on earth that should take as long as it takes the NCAA to do stuff. Recruiting was not up to standard because they can't recruit the players they want because of the NCAA stuff. I've been telling you that 1,000 times. It's like it bounces around people's heads. But so you have all that hanging over their head. I get it. I understand why fans were frustrated. I understand why they let him go. I do understand it. But I just think that he deserves more time because of everything going on. It's like people just look at the results and don't think about, and just like the contingent talking about bringing Patino back and bringing Jurich back and all that stuff. I'm like, those are the people that got you in this predicament. So what are you doing there? So long story short, I do think Chris Mack deserves more time.
No, I mean, I like Kendra said, I think it depends on situations, but 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, if you're if you're having some success, and you see progress being made in some form of fashion, I mean, you have to work to try to keep it moving, because what we've seen, as you just mentioned about the New York Giants, you think about the Jets, you think about the Browns, you think about the Broncos, who now they have a new coach. You think about the Bears, all these organizations in schools, colleges that just keep changing coaches, head coaches. Next thing you know, 6 to 7, 8, 9 years is when you turn good. And it's been 9 years, but you've had like 3 or 4 coaches within those 9 years, and you finally found someone, after 9 years to get you to a certain level. Cincinnati Bengals, same situation. I mean, they kept changing coaches, and now they've found some good players, young players that's come in and done well, and now they're making the playoffs. But the key is what happens next year if they don't have the type of season that they had this year. Are they thinking about getting rid of the coach? Because that's the mentality we're in.
And you know how the NFL works, they will.
Yeah. Again?
You know how the NFL works. If they have a bad year next year, they'll fire that coach.
No question about it. No question about it. Especially if it's really bad. And I'm looking at you, Houston Texans. I'll say this. I did not enjoy watching U of L men's basketball this year. It was not a good-looking product at all. Obviously, even in the Bahamas win, I was like, they won, but that wasn't a beautiful brand of basketball at all. But having said that, I wonder how coachable Chris Mack was. And what I mean by that is there have been conversations leading into this year about the style of play that he was bringing to U of L. And it is vastly different than anything U of L has ever had. I mean, we've never seen whatever that was he was putting on the court. but so I wonder how much of that was also the problem. Like, bro, we've asked you to bring a brand of basketball that will both win and put butts in the seat. And it didn't appear that was the case this year. Because, they got 11 wins, but it didn't look very good. They were not – go ahead.
Let me just before you get too far, everyone wants them to be like what they used to be, which were Coach Patino was there, and that was his style. I mean, that was just the way he played the game. He coached the game. He coached it with high energy. they press. I mean, that's what they did. That was just his style, and that's what they got accustomed to. And with someone coming in who has a different style, doesn't mean that it can't be successful. It's just different. And so when you go out of when you talk about being coachable, when you go out of your comfort zone, you need to bring someone else in that has that expertise. And I don't know if he has someone on staff that can, coach up the defense the way, they want to speed up the game or offensively, make things happen. But you also need some players that you can put in situations to be able to do that as well. And so I just don't know if his style of coaching was going to meet what the fans expected outside of just winning games. Because, you look at Virginia, they play a certain brand, and when they're successful and win, there are people hollering in the stands. It could be as boring as possible. You shooting 5 seconds left on the shot clock every time. They still hollering if you're winning. You know what I mean?
True. That's very true.
Yeah, well, it's like Pittsburgh. Their fans that go crazy and let the quarterbacks run into the sideline every time. But
why would you do that? Why would you do that? Why would you get him started?
They do. They hollering because he has to run to the sideline every time.
You're an instigator. You're an instigator. You're an instigator. I see what's going on here. So that brings us to this question, because obviously in the wake of all that has taken place, there is a ton of chatter on a lot of different sites. I've seen everybody from Bleacher Report to Sports Illustrated to fan sites everywhere that saying this is a hot coaching opportunity. And I've even heard some ESPN people say it as well. But I've also, some of the names that you're hearing are, I'll say in my humble opinion, unrealistic. I don't think that's a thing. But I'll say this, what is the coach you think they should get? Do you believe any of some of the names that are being out there, being floated out there? I don't believe Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens is fine. He's not leaving the Boston.
Let's go to the list and let's X out some of the dumb names that are on this list.
I think Brad Stevens is out. Brad
Stevens is out. Billy Donovan is out. He's not leaving a playoff team in the Bulls to come coach Louisville, especially when he's only in his second year at the Bulls.
Yeah, and they legit have a chance to go to the NBA Finals. So
the Bulls are fantastic. Mark Jackson is not going to be U of L's basketball coach.
No, I don't think.
No,
I don't think.
So now we're like the names.
Hold on. I don't want you to rush past that. I don't think.
That's not happening.
Well, here's why I say I don't think. It depends on how bad he really, really wants to get back into coaching. I didn't think Deion Sanders would go to Jackson State. Look. I mean, come on.
That's different though. I don't see Mark Jackson recruiting.
No.
I don't either.
There's a reason why you don't see pro coaches going down to the college level.
Hey, I don't either. I agree. I'm just saying.
It's not happening.
I don't think.
And another one I heard, Mark Few's not coming to Louisville.
No, not
Why?
And so it brings me to Bruce Pearl.
Well, hold on. The Mark Few, because Charlie asked the question. He said, "Why?"
I'm just saying, why would he want to come to Louisville?
Right.
From
he's already king
when he's already going to the Final Four in final games.
Yeah, there's no reason for him to do that. Now,
and he owns Spokane, Washington.
Now, the Bruce Pearl one interests me only for this reason. He to me is the basketball version of Charlie Strong. He keeps ending up at football schools, and he's a basketball coach that wants to be. And this is no shade to him, because I think he's probably a really good guy. He seems like a good guy, but there's a celebrity aspect to him that I think he desires to not have to share the spotlight. And the schools that he has gone to, he's always had to share the spotlight. At Louisville, he would not.
On the surface, on court, on personality, I think Bruce Pearl would be a great fit for you.
Be a great fit.
However, the same stuff that U of L is in trouble for with the NCAA,
that's my
in trouble for the NCAA. And Bruce Pearl has had that following him around the whole time he's been coaching. And so that's why I don't see U of L making that move just because of everything he's got, all the baggage he's got coming with him. And like the last guy just said, it's still a great job, NCAA stuff or not. It's still one of the top jobs in the country. I mean, let's face it. I mean, I'm 46. Lloyd, me and you are about the same age. Charlie, we're all about the same age. There's only been 3 coaches at Louisville in our lifetime.
Yeah. That's very
it's
true.
a job that does not come open very often. So it's still one of the best jobs in the country, but it has lost a lot of its luster because of pending NCAA stuff.
One of the names that keeps getting thrown out a lot, and even some of the quote unquote Louisville legends are throwing it out, is Kenny Payne. Kenny Payne, in a lot of ways, makes a lot of sense, but I will on this show admit to you that is a unique name to me for this reason, and I'll speak very candidly. It is unspokenly believed that one of the reasons why Kentucky's recruitment was so amazing there's a stretch from Boogie Cousins to the Harrison twins, and maybe a little bit beyond that.
Anthony Davis,
maybe even Karl-Anthony, as deep as Karl-Anthony Towns, is that was because Kenny Payne, and dare I say his relationship with a certain guy by the name, we'll just call him Worldwide West. Now, Kenny Payne is working in New York for Worldwide West. So the belief is that by getting Kenny Payne to Louisville, you are essentially realigning yourself with Worldwide West.
I mean, I don't have a problem with that personally.
I'm just saying. Well, okay.
I'm sure Charlie knows West a little bit. I mean, I don't have a problem with that.
What's wrong with Worldwide West?
I don't know.
I mean, he knows everybody.
He knows everybody,
Yeah.
and he seems to have tremendous influence.
Yeah, it's not. I don't mind having West. I don't mind having KP here. The players. I mean, you talk to every single former player at UK when KP was there, and they love Kenny Payne. And well, lack of coaching experience. I mean, Juwan Howard wasn't the head coach either, and he's doing all right at Michigan. So, if he does what Juwan Howard did, which is bring in the same thing Penny did, but Penny's struggling, he'd be a bad example. But you bring in somebody else who's been a long-time head coach on that bench to kind of guide you through these waters. I don't mind KP coming, but I mean, he's a former player, so you're getting a Louisville guy.
He understands Louisville very well,
and and just that's been one of the gripes that's been amongst the former players is that they didn't feel included in the university anymore, which I've always thought was weird because they would blame that on Mack, and I'm like, Rick Pitino didn't have nothing to do with y'all either. And as a matter of fact, Mack was more open to them than Pitino was. But I don't have any problem with KP coming back. Charlie, did you play against Kenny Payne?
No,
I'm not sure.
He was on.
You wouldn't have played against Kenny Payne.
If he's along with us, if he's along with me, then yes.
I don't think you played. I thought Kenny was in that '86 group.
He was on the '86 championship team, but I can't remember what year he was. I want to say he was a freshman then, but
I think he was. I think he would have been coming. You would have been coming when he was leaving, or there may have been a year overlap.
Yeah, because I started playing basketball in '91. 90, 91.
So there may have been a slight overlap, maybe, possibly. Galvanized the fan base, former players, and he recruited the highest level. The recruiting is not in question. I think Louisville would have a top 10 recruiting class coming out the gate.
Well, the thing is what's suspected is that he would bring Milt Wagner along with him, who, of course, is a legend here.
A legend.
Just happens to be the grandfather of one of the top.
Who is that?
Milt Wagner.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Milt's grandson, which is DeJuan Wagner. I think it's DeJuan Wagner's son.
Isn't that crazy that DeJuan Wagner's son is old enough now? It seems like DeJuan Wagner just spurned Louisville yesterday, and now all of a sudden he's
funny. It's
crazy, man. Time passes, man. Jeez.
At this point, I don't see why. He has experience, meaning he's coached in college, he's coached in the pros, he's been around head coaches, and so I'm sure he has a philosophy that he's put together over all the great coaches that he's been with.
The coaches, he played under Denny Crum and he learned under John Calipari. He was doing a great job recruiting when he was at Oregon before he was at UK. He was doing a great job there. So it's not like he just fell out of the earth, out of the sky.
and as we know, half the battle is finding the right players to fit, what you do, and surrounding yourself with like we talked about. You the head coach, but you got to have a good assistants to help you in what you're trying to get accomplished. And we can talk about the head coach, but if you don't have the assistants to be able to help you and to get where you're trying to get to, then you're going to struggle. And so and I guess you just
I'm not.
He's a homer.
Yeah, he's a homer.
So if you got someone that's your own, they're going to treat it right, and want to see the best for it, and so it's just a matter of whether they want to pull that trigger. But you're also going to probably need someone that's not going to take a huge payday to try to get.
Right.
That's a great point.
That's what you're gonna get. You're gonna have a large check to have to write. And me personally, I just think that Bruce Pearl is gonna parlay that Louisville interest into a bigger paycheck from Auburn.
Oh yeah, I think
he's coming.
Bruce Pearl thing was solely for leverage. I don't think he's well. I say that, and then then we're at a press conference.
we're at a press conference, and there he is, shirtless with a big L on his chest.
Right.
But
yeah, I think if I had to guess, especially since there is technically no AD yet, so this is kind of a board ran
and no president,
right? And no president. I would say,
and real quick shout out
to
because Josh Hurd killed it in the press conference yesterday. He was fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah, he did a great job yesterday.
I would say if ever there was a time for the Kenny Payne move, this would be it, because all of the stars are kind of aligned. There's nothing that can technically get in the way of this, because the old voices are going to be as loud as they ever have been and as heard as they've ever been. They're going to get a seat at the table. Who was that was really loud on Facebook yesterday?
I heard.
What I'm talking about.
I saw tweets from Taekwon Dean.
Yeah,
Taekwon.
This was older than that. This was somebody that played with Kenny. Oh, I can't remember his name. Just that fast. My mind's going blank. But anyway, it was somebody in that same group though. But they've all been chiming in. I'm sure there'll be other endorsements. I'm looking forward to seeing the junior finally endorse Butch Beard. That's who it was.
Butch Beard. Yeah, Butch Beard.
Yeah, Butch was. You never hear from Butch Beard ever. Like, he doesn't say much.
Well, yeah.
Well, not publicly. Not publicly. I'll say it that way. So
Butch has been public lately.
Yeah, he's been public lately, and he was very adamant about Kenny. I can see Junior stepping up and talking about Kenny and others. It'll be interesting to see if the Kenny thing picks up momentum over the next week or two. Are they going to move fast, Kendrick? Is that the thought process?
They said they're going to move fast because you have to with recruiting coming up. So you have to move fast, and so if it's not Kenny, I really and truly, if it's not KP, I don't know who it would be. To be perfectly honest, I don't know. I've seen names out there. Now, I don't know. But
so Kendra, I have this question. So the current staff, like who would he keep from the current staff, or would everybody have to leave and he brings in his own group?
I would think.
Great question.
I mean, you know how these things work. They usually bring in their own people, and that's one of the things that Jeff Walls touched on in his press conference yesterday. He's like, if I get fired tomorrow, I have a buyout, but my assistants and my trainers and all that stuff, they don't. And that's the hard part about all of this stuff that people don't really think about. Is like you've got all these people that are dependent on Chris Mack who are going to be out of a job too. And I mean, that part sucks.
Can I ask a question on that? What you just said, and you both can answer it. Is it easy to finish out a season and be on LinkedIn at the same time?
Is it easy to do what?
Is it easy to finish coaching out a season and be on LinkedIn at the same time? Because that's kind of what you have to do.
I mean, they do. I mean, it is
because you got to, like you just said, you don't know where your next job. And even if they were to make an unsuspected run to the tournament, I mean, I just don't see Louisville retaining this staff. This isn't Notre Dame with Chip Kelly's situation. You know what I mean?
Well, the only name that anybody really knows around here anyway is Mike Pegues because he's the interim coach. So nobody else really knows what the rest of those guys do, and it's not a knock on them. It's just it's just how it is. I do think Pegues, this is a big chance, a big opportunity for him because I think he's going to get a head coaching job out of this. Probably not here, but he's going to get a head coaching job out of this because he's fantastic in a press conference.
He's really?
Oh, God, he's awesome. So I'm like, So if he's that good in a press conference, he's going to knock out a job interview. They were 5-1 under him. If he can have a modicum of success, the NCAA is out the window for U of L this year. If he can have some success, win a few more games this year, Mike Pegues is going to be a head coach next year.
Kenny, that's not true. It is not technically out of the realm of possibility. Technically. Now, I think it's completely out of the realm of possibility. but technically, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's what I thought. I thought it was 10 games. I just didn't want to say it without actually knowing it. But there's 10 games left. I mean, a 10-0 run, ramp up into the ACC. You can start. Hey, listen. You can see a pretty clear. Wouldn't it be ironic if this Saturday they come out and stomp all over Duke?
I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest. Just because stuff like that happens.
It happened, and then all of a sudden,
honestly, I'm not gonna say they're gonna. I think they're gonna give Duke a run because they're gonna.
Where are they playing the game?
At U of L.
Yes, here.
So they're playing at U of L. So they'll probably have a burst of energy.
The crowd will be there.
How about this? Here's the remaining schedule: Duke at home, UNC at home, Syracuse, Notre Dame on the road, Miami at home, Clemson at home. Then you have a stretch of on the road, UNC, Wake, and Virginia Tech, but all winnable games. And then you close the season with Virginia. Not unrealistic to think that this might be an 8-2 run or a 7-3. Now, I don't know if that gets. I don't think that gets you in the tournament, but stranger things have happened.
In a normal ACC, that it's still possible, but with the ACC being down, a 7-3 run through that, I don't think it's going to do it.
Well, I guess what I mean is, I think they would have to flat out win the ACC. I don't think they get in any other way.
Yeah, it's the only way they get in.
Yeah, but it's not. But if they can start this week, and again, you got to know this place is going to be. First of all, I expect the building to be packed because it's going to be hope now. And who knows? And it's an early game. It's an early game. Yeah. So
yes, it's an early game.
I sensed something there, Kendrick, when you said that.
It's so 12-hour day for the kid.
Right. So I mean, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying stranger things have happened. And
I will say this community is going to rally around this team now. They're going to rally around Pegues. David Padgett, former player, he put out a message that got traction that says that was basically we have to support this team, which, you know, I thought that from even when they were struggling, like you still need to support the guys. So I think it's going to galvanize the fan base for a little bit. That game is going to be that's going to be as tough a game that Duke is going to play for.
featured ESPN game of the week.
But
for the day.
How they finish out the season is big for Mike Pegues, and I'm rooting for Mike Pegues because he's one of the nicer guys you meet, and he's fantastic in the press conference. So for my job, yeah, I love it. He's great.
Well, it's very curious. I'm very curious to see where this is going. So we will see, man. But wow, what a turn of events taking place this week. Wow, very unique.
Basically, it's welcome to the world of covering the University of Louisville.
Oh my goodness, it's always
it's never
something.
A dull moment.
never a dull moment. One of the more entertaining beats that you can find on. That is for sure. Our final thoughts and our shout outs. We can do that now. Just real quick, this will be fun. Breaking news to the surprise of no one. Ben Roethlisberger has announced his retirement.
Is that really breaking?
I mean, I thought he announced it like 7 or 8 games ago, but
he did the farewell tour at the end of the last game.
Right.
At home.
So I don't know. Apparently somebody needed to officially know, so I guess the paperwork maybe is just clear.
Now the breaking news would be about Tom Brady.
Yeah, now that is going to be interesting to see what he does. It's going to be very interesting to see what he
Brady
does.
And Aaron Rodgers would be breaking news. Roethlisberger is not so much.
Not so much. Okay. Anybody got any shout outs? We got our shout outs for this week.
Shout out to Lady Seminoles softball. They've been picked to win the ACC preseason. And
they've been picked to do what?
They've been picked to win the ACC preseason.
That's not what I was laughing at. I was laughing at that comment across the screen.
Oh, okay. What happened? All right. Gotcha.
Also, Georgia Tech beating the Seminoles last night for their 3rd straight win against Seminoles.
What's going on with the Seminoles?
I just want to be fair. Our team didn't play well. They don't play well at Georgia Tech for some reason. They don't play well against Georgia Tech.
Won that game.
So we struggle against Georgia Tech. But Georgia Tech finds a way to play really, really well against us all the time. Everybody else, they were 1-6 coming in. Come on, man. They find energy to play against the Seminoles.
Charlie,
everybody else, they just kind of go through the motions.
Charlie, your tone seems very disapproving.
Come on, man. Can we let my team sleep? I like us being like the second or third. I like us being second or third.
Okay, but but you keep saying let them sleep, and every time they fall asleep, this happens. Maybe you want them awake, wide awake.
I want us to keep sleeping because when you're on top, everybody plays like Georgia Tech played last night.
All right, Charlie. I just feel like you gotta choose, man. You gotta choose. Do you want them to be great or not? They're trying to be great for you.
We can be great while we sleep. Be the sleeper. Win underneath the radar.
Underneath the radar. All right.
Yeah.
But if you keep winning, you're not gonna be underneath
There's
the radar.
no such thing as winning underneath the radar.
We just made it a thing.
You know, if you would have beaten Georgia Tech, that would have been an under radar win because, like you said, they were 1-6 coming into the game.
There you go. There you go. There you
Instead,
go.
we make headlines.
There you go. All right, Kenji, who are your shout outs this week?
I'll shout out. I basically already had my shout outs. I shouted out Josh Hurd, the interim AD, and I shouted out Chris Mack for even talking to us because he didn't have it.
You did.
So shout out to them, and shout out to Mike McGee getting another shot as the head coach for Louisville for the last part of the season.
I want to quote the prophet Jay-Z in a line that I think is appropriate for U of L right now. You got less than 10 games to get your stuff together. Good luck. I mean, you listen, you made a decision. Good luck. I mean, it's a decision.
Yeah, good luck on the coaching search with no president.
Good luck. I mean,
I do feel like Hurd eventually is gonna be.
You think he's gonna get it? You gonna lock it down?
Yeah, I feel like he's gonna get it.
Man,
if they're working quick, then that means he's gonna have to make a decision, or whoever's in leadership will have to make a decision.
Yeah.
How does that work?
How does that vote?
Do it quick. So
how does that work? Do they just hire Kenny and he just stays in New York till the season's over? Or does he come?
I don't think they're gonna move that fast. I think they're gonna go through the end of the season. But I mean, I would think Kenny would probably finish out the season with the Knicks.
Because nobody comes in season and starts coaching, right? I've never seen that before. Okay, all right. Listen, I've never seen it, but I don't put anything past Louisville.
This is true.
I don't put anything past Louisville. They're different, man. Louisville does things different.
We are talking about a different animal.
We are talking about a different animal. We need him right now. Come finish and coach this. What? Install your philosophies right now. What are we doing? I don't put anything past Louisville.
All I can say is stay tuned around here.
Stay tuned. We'll be back right after these messages. That's Louisville.
And if you think that was weird, we've got something else up our sleeve.
Oh man, hold up here. We'll be back. All right. My only shout.
Big game tonight, Charlie. Your Seminoles against Jeff Walls and the U of L women tonight.
Yeah, it's gonna be a nice one. No flying under the radar tonight, Charlie. This is real.
I just take it easy on our ladies coming into the Yum Center.
My shout out is twofold. One, I just want to shout out my wife just because I love her and I just want to shout her out. And then secondly,
on the couch last night, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, but that was only that was only because I'm so afraid to oversleep this show now. So I'll be like, I be nervous, like I don't want to oversleep. So I got to get used to this time of the show. So that's funny you said that. But no, I just want to shout out because that's my girl. But I also want to shout out baseball for achieving new levels of petty. Just when you thought baseball and baseball writers couldn't be any more petty, you leave out 3 guys who hold records that will probably never be broken. You leave them out of the Hall of Fame because they were on steroids. Well, it's funny how the steroids weren't a problem when you were chasing them all around the country. and every newspaper and publication in the country was making goo-gobs of money off of their legendary runs. It's funny how that works, isn't it? Now, all of a sudden, we have absenteeism. We don't remember, oh, he's a cheater. He cheated the game. He was cheating the game when you were cashing those checks. Congratulations, baseball. You've made yourself completely irrelevant.
Hey, you know, and it's a thing of where if Barry Bonds was just nice, and if Roger Clemens was more nice, if Kurt Schilling was nice, even I can't stand Kurt Schilling, but he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
And if they were just nicer, they'd be in the Hall of Fame. That's what makes it so arbitrary. I'm like, them being nice and have nothing to do with them being in the Hall of Fame.
I was going to say, what that has one, listen, one, it shouldn't have anything to do with the other. The fact that I didn't speak to you in the lunch line, I got to not be in the Hall of Fame. What are we talking about right now? Is this high school?
It's so petty.
It's petty.
So I have this question.
Yeah.
Like, can't they just put them in? Like, somebody who can override that deal and just say, hey, we putting them in because they deserve to be in. Like,
that
I understand
baseball being progressive, and we all know they're against that.
Right, they're not going to do that. I heard something that there's some kind of weird, I don't know what it's called because I don't know enough about their thing, but it's like a weird. It's not like football's old school committee. Like they have an old school committee that if you miss the first group of writers, you can get in on the second group of writers. But it's something similar to that where
it's some with the players.
It's some weird thing. So maybe at some point in some weird way they kind of get in, but I don't know if it's considered the same type of get in. So I don't know, but it's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. The all-time home run leader, the all-time strikeout leader, and one of the best pitchers and most legendary moments in the history of the game, none of that will be in.
Has Pete Rose got in yet?
No. Because they're petty. Charlie, they're petty.
Kurt Schilling's sock isn't. Schilling's sock is in the Hall of Fame.
Right, his sock in the Hall of Fame. I don't get baseball. I don't get it. I've been fussing about it the last 2 days, but it's just petty. I just don't get it. Listen, Barry Bonds is not necessarily the most likable dude. Like, I get it. Right. But that has nothing to do with what he did.
I mean, not everybody that makes the Hall of Fame is likable.
Right.
Lawrence Taylor is probably not the most likable guy, but
I'm just saying, I mean, that's not a criteria.
Right.
Right. I mean,
yeah.
Michael Jordan doesn't exactly come off as warm and fuzzy.
Who's that? Say it again.
Michael Jordan doesn't exactly come off as warm and fuzzy.
Great example. The guy literally spent an hour and a half in a speech crucifying the very people that helped him get in. Like, I can't stand this guy and I can't stand that guy. And oh, by the way, if I played you today, I'd whoop your. I mean, come on. That was Michael Jordan's Hall of Fame speech.
He just basically that scene in Coming to America. Bleep you, bleep you, bleep you.
Right. Oh, but that dude was still bitter at his high school coach for cutting him. What are we talking about right now? So anyway, this petty. I just think that's petty. I think baseball should be ashamed of itself. But you know what? You're not relevant to a lot of people now anyway, so maybe it doesn't matter.
And
so anyway.
Someday they'll figure it out.
No, they won't. No, they won't. You know they won't. All right, guys, we've had a good time. This has been a good show.
And shout out to the people that comment during the show because some of those comments are hilarious.
They're funny. They're hilarious. Listen. I love the noisemakers. They're amazing. They bring it each and every week. So I'm proud of them. So thank you guys for making the show, giving it that color we need. So all right, we're out of here, man. That is Kendrick Haskins. Oh, there he is. That's Kendrick Haskins over there. That dude is a Hall of Famer. He's the Kentucky Sportscaster of the Year, and he's a future Heisman Trophy winner if the paperwork clears. That guy down there, Charlie Ward, is a Heisman Trophy winner because the paperwork did good, despite the fact that Nissan is not doing right by him. You thought we forgot? We hadn't forgot. Y'all are petty too.
I'd boycott if I didn't drive a Nissan.
Well, I don't drive a Nissan, and I will not be getting one until Charlie Ward makes the Hall of Fame, the Nissan Heisman Trophy winner house on a consistent basis.
I want to be in the house. Again.
That's right, Charlie.
Not as a mascot.
Talk reckless, Charlie. Tell him.
Yes.
Maybe we can get The Rock to campaign for us since every time we talk about his career, you have to talk about him sacking Charlie.
Is that Rock hit costing you the house right now? Is that the problem?
Say again?
Is that Rock hit costing you the Heisman house right now? Because technically you're the only Heisman Trophy winner that's ever been tackled by a professional wrestler.
I don't know if that's true or not, but
that's a good point.
I don't think that's true.
I'm just saying, I don't know. Anyway, all right, we're out of here. Y'all have a good one. Believe in the ACC. We'll see you next week. You've been listening to Believe in the ACC with Charlie Ward, Lloyd Spence, and Kendrick Haskins. Please like, follow, subscribe, and share from the Noisemakers page on Facebook and on YouTube. And you can also listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, and wherever podcasts can be heard. And join us next